Hey, and welcome to the Deliberate Exchange. My name is Chelsea. I'm so glad that you are here listening. I wanted to get into today's episode breaking down the change cycle because I think that is really important for us to understand where we're at and also what to expect if you are quitting drinking. And at the time that this will be released for your listening, we're going to be a couple days away from New Year's 2026. There is a lot of intentions and resolutions being set. There's a lot of resets. There's dry January. There's a collective air of change. And so I want to make this as helpful as possible for you if this is the situation that you're in. Now, before I tell you what happens after you stop drinking, I want to help you understand where you might be right now, because most of the women that I work with don't fail at quitting drinking. They misunderstand the change process and then blame themselves for being a human. So I want to start by walking you through the change cycle in real language, and as I do, I want you to gently notice where you are, with no pressure to be further along, with no pressure to decide anything today, just awareness. So we'll start with the change cycle in real life terms. Now, the first stage is this is just how it is. Drinking feels normal here. It's social, it's cultural, it's how you unwind, it's how you cope. Nothing feels urgent yet, and if you are here, it's not that you're necessarily in denial, but you are absolutely enmeshed in conditioning. And this was me in 2015. I was functioning, I was capable, I was showing up, I was doing life. Alcohol wasn't a problem. It was just there. And then we get into stage 2, where something feels off. Now, this is where the awareness really starts whispering. And this is the stage where rules appear. And again, this was me from 2015 to really 2020. I had rules like only on weekends, only wine, not when I'm stressed, not during the week, not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. Now, this stage gets misunderstood as failure, and it's absolutely not. What we could probably label it as rather is ambivalence. This is a part of you that knows something isn't working anymore, but part of you isn't ready to let it go. And that tension, as it did for me, can last years. That is just the cycle doing its job. And then you get to the third stage. I'm going to try. This is where short breaks live. 4 days, 30 years, dry January. Even for me in 2019, I quit drinking for 4 days. And I want to name that because it mattered. Like, that attempt wasn't pointless. No attempt at quitting anything is pointless. They are data, as I call it on our She Walks calls, evidence. They show you what comes up in the body. It shows you how you handle stress. And it also shows you where support is maybe missing. Now, most people go back here not because they don't want to change, but because the nervous system hasn't actually learned any other way yet. And then you get into the fourth stage. I've stopped. Now, this is the moment where people think it's like the whole story, and it really, really isn't. If you are listening and you've listened before, if you're new here, it was 2020 when I stopped drinking, and I haven't looked back since. I'm approaching 6 years of sober life. And it's not because I tried harder or life got easier, but this time I added breathing, I added nervous system work, and I added healing. And I didn't necessarily have those words and that vocabulary at the time, but that is what made the difference. Alcohol wasn't just removed, it was replaced. And then you get into stage 5. This is my life now. Now, this is where we maintain. And we don't want to do it with vigilance or white knuckling, but we want to do it when we have capacity. And this is where alcohol stops being tempting, not because it's forbidden, but because your body has other ways to feel safe. And so if you're listening and you're in that contemplation mode, or you're negotiating, or you've tried and stopped and started again, I get it. But now that you have a map, let's talk about what actually happens after you stop drinking. so that you don't confuse nervous system recalibration with failure. So, what to expect after you stop drinking? If you're listening to this because you've quit drinking, or you've been thinking about it, or you've tried and it didn't stick, it's one of those really nagging things in the back of your mind, like, do I have a problem? Do I need to quit? Is this too much? Or I'm sick of feeling sick and tired. I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you for how hard this feels. Quitting drinking isn't just about removing alcohol, it's about removing a coping mechanism where your nervous system relied on it. And when it's gone, everything else steps forward. Your body, your emotions, your patterns, your relationships, your truth. So I want to walk you through what actually happens when you stop drinking, physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, and socially, across the first month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and beyond. I don't want it to be a highlight reel, and I'm not trying to fearmonger here. I really just want to show you the real terrain, and I'll show you also what actually helps, especially when willpower stops working. Because for anybody who tells you that this is a willpower issue, tell them to go fuck right off, because it isn't that. So before we start this particular part of the conversation, I want to offer you a reframe, because most conversations about quitting drinking are framed like this: just get through the cravings, distract yourself, white knuckle the first bit. But what I know now, both personally and professionally, alcohol is not the problem. It was the solution that your nervous system found. And so when you remove it, your system doesn't need discipline, it needs support. And when you have that lens, it changes everything. So let's talk about the first month, okay? 0 to 30 days. Physically, this is when your body is really doing some hard recalibration work. Your sleep might improve, or like some women that I've talked to, it gets worse before it gets better. Your blood sugar is unstable, your cortisol rhythms are off, your nervous system is learning how to downshift without a chemical break. And so you might notice more fatigue, headaches, digestive changes, sugar cravings. You might feel wired but tired at the same time. That is your system relearning balance. Emotionally, this is where some women get kind of surprised, because you're expecting relief. But what often shows up first is rawness. You're irritable, tears come out of nowhere, anxiety you thought was alcohol was helping, but it was actually masking it. This is the emotional sensations coming back online in your body. It is not pathology, it is awareness. Now, mentally, your brain is really fucking loud in the first 30 days. There's thought loops, negotiation, justifying, maybe I didn't have a problem, maybe I can moderate, why is this harder than I thought? And that mental noise is a stressed nervous system trying to reestablish familiarity. And then we get into the social aspect. Now, this can be really, really confronting early on. You might start noticing how much social life is organized around alcohol. You might feel exposed, different, awkward. You might grieve the version of you who fit in while you were drinking, and that grief is really, really real. Now, what helps in month 1 is, again, not willpower, but regulation. Simple, repetitive nervous system cues like slow exhales, grounding through the body, predictable routines, breath work that soothes first and activates second. The goal here is not to try to feel amazing. You are trying to feel safe. And then we get into 60 to 90 days. This is the 3 months. And I think that this is a huge under-discussed milestone, because physically your nervous system is starting to feel more stable. You might be experiencing deeper sleep. Your energy might be more consistent. But, and this matters, this is sometimes when the pink cloud can fade. Now, emotionally, around 3 months or so, alcohol has stopped numbing, but you haven't yet built new coping pathways. So what comes up? all the old emotions, all the unprocessed grief, all the anger you never had room for or didn't know what the fuck to do with. You have sadness you didn't know what that you were carrying. And this is where many people think like something is wrong. I was happier drinking, like I thought I was supposed to feel better. Let me assure you that there is nothing wrong if this is how you're feeling right now. You're just feeling what you've been postponing via alcohol. Now, mentally, in this 3-month period, identity questions arise. Who am I without alcohol? What do I do when I'm stressed? How do I turn off from the day? Who am I when I'm not numbing, performing, or coping? And that can feel really disorienting and also lonely. So, what will help you at 3 months? This is where somatic work becomes essential. And somatic just means is fancy talk for relating to the body. Not just talking about your feelings, but letting your body metabolize them. Like we got into this part, or at least I did with drinking, where I didn't know what to do with the thoughts. I didn't know what to do with the big, heavy emotions. And so I drank them away. And then I found breath work, movement, practices that allow emotion to move without analysis. Because what you're experiencing isn't right or wrong, it's just an emotion. And you don't need to figure out anything, but you do need to let it move through you. So you're cruising along, you're 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, now we're at 6 months. And this is where things start to feel different in a bit of a deeper way. Physically, your system has a new baseline. Emotionally, there's more space. Mentally, there's more clarity. You're less hijacked. Your body trusts you more. Relationships shift. Some deepen, some fall away, and this can be tender and also really liberating. What helps here is capacity building, learning how to self-soothe, how to feel pleasure, how to regulate stress in real time. And then when you get to a year and beyond, like that isn't the finish line. You've just created the foundation. You feel inhabitable, present, less at war with yourself. Your energy isn't leaking anymore. You're not managing hangovers. You're not recovering from numbing. You're not living in a low-grade depletion. You have access to your life force again. And that's really, really powerful. Now, I will say that maybe you haven't experienced any of these. Maybe you've experienced all of them. Everybody's path is different. And absolutely, if you are a heavy, excessive drinker, I would really urge you to consult with your doctor about making sure that this is a safe transition. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, so don't take this for gospel. This is my experience and what I've lived through in the 6 years that I've been sober. And it's a lot of the compelling information, evidence, and data that I've collected from the community that I work in. So if you are anywhere on this path, day 1, year 5, anything in between, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're not weak for finding this hard. Your body is finally learning how to live without escape. And that deserves a lot of compassion, not pressure. And you're maybe not well versed in giving yourself compassion. You, if you're listening to this, are probably really, really good at extending compassion to everybody else except for you. But I need you to dial up that compassion for yourself. And this is why I center breathwork and nervous system work in everything that I do now. When your body feels safe, you no longer need to numb it, and you can meet your life. So wherever you are, I'm sending you lots of love, lots of support. If you have any questions about this particular journey, I have lots of resources. I'm happy to answer questions about what else made it easy for me. If you think that somebody needs to hear this episode, of course, please share. If you just want to share it to your socials, that would be really helpful, because this particular journey is also mired in a lot of stigma. People still don't feel safe quitting or talking about their relationship with alcohol because they fear judgment. They fear that there's something wrong with them. So just share it wherever you think is appropriate. I'd really appreciate that. And thank you so much for listening. In the meantime, breathe it in, be deliberate, and please be good to yourself.